Tonight's episode of the 31st Lap Podcast is brought to you by DirtTrackDigest.com. If it's on dirt, it's on Dirt Track Digest.
This is the 31st Lap Podcast, recorded live in the studios of FingerLakes1.com in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now, your host, Chris Marquardt.
Good afternoon and welcome to episode number 161 of the 31st Lap, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios, downtown Seneca Falls. As you heard about, fun show on deck. We're going to be catching up here in just a few minutes with the one and only. Here, let's make sure we got that straightened out for everybody. There we go. Get this out of the way. Come on now. There we are. Okay, so anyway, we were saying we're going to be catching up with Steven Ovens here in just a few minutes, talk a little bit about the upcoming event at Black Rock Speedway with the Modifieds return for a midweek special next week presented by SP Wilson. Danny Johnson has confirmed that he's going to be in action over there. Kenny Peoples also going to be joining the card. I believe we've got Steven. Are you there?
Where we had scheduled the show up against Penn Can, not knowing that was kind of a traditional date that they ran normally. So, we had to move up a week, up to June 2nd. And being that we had to move up to June 2nd is really kind of starting to create a perfect storm for us here. You've got the Super Dirt Car Series off. You've got Race of Champions Modifieds are off that night. And I believe the Short Track Super Series is off as well. So we're hoping for a big car count. We've got a lot of money on the line, $5,000 to win, $200 to start, and a lot of guys are talking about the 3 guaranteed starting spots for the Short Track Super Series that are up for grabs. So hoping we get a good turnout and a big night for the Speedway.
Let's talk a little bit about that right there. There's a whole slew of guaranteed starter spots that the top 3 are going to get to pick from. Let's go back. Let's take a step back before we go forward. Danny Johnson winning last night in Brockville with the Super Dirt Car Series. He won the opener at Black Rock Speedway. The race that you alluded to coming up on the 9th of June now is Penn Can's event. Danny Johnson was all involved in one of the best finishes of all time in that event, and the photo finished last June. Danny bringing the Generelli-owned number 27J back to Black Rock again, and his odds are looking awful good.
Yeah, absolutely. He took the win. They came to race with us on opening night after the events at I-88 were canceled due to the cold weather, so they came to race with us. And being that it was a heads-up start on the first night, he took the win in his heat race, started on the pole, and had to hold off Derek Pozziadlo out of Penn Yan, but was able to pick up the opening night victory, and so he's going to be a guy that you're going to have to contend with for sure. But a lot of great drivers starting to put their name in the hat. Just got done speaking with the Cartwrights. They picked up a couple lap sponsorships, and they were telling me that they spoke to Vic Coffey earlier in the day, and it sounded like Vic is making his way over there as well. So it just, a lot of guys starting to make their plans for early next week, and that's going to add to regular Steve Payne, Alan Johnson. You've got Cartwright, of course, Tyler Seary, Billy Van Pelt, and his nephew Dylan Groover coming up from Woodhall. So, a lot of big names in the area, whether it's Finger Lakes, Southern Tier, and I'm sure as we get closer to Tuesday, we're going to have a lot more names to talk about as well.
Kenny Peoples joining the fray this week, or this Tuesday rather.
Yeah, we just we've been working with Tom Baker from Race Chaser Online to get some driver previews out this week leading up to the event. Kenny Peoples was a guy that we spoke to regarding coming out to the event. He's a regular down at the Woodhall Raceway and a driver that actually cut his teeth in the Bandit division at Black Rock before getting his start down at Woodhall. So, there's a guy there that has laps in several different types of cars at Black Rock that, it's just one of those things. The competition is going to be so steep, but on the other hand, if you get a good draw through the gate, qualify through your heat race, make it into the redraw. I mean, if you go up there and redraw in the top 5 and keep your nose clean all night, you could be in the running for, the win or at least one of those top 3 guaranteed spots. So, I really feel like the guys that run with us every week will have a little bit of an advantage, but at the same time, when you look at the talent that's coming in, guys that run the Super Dakar Series or run the ROC Series or run with Deo, I mean, it's going to be tough to get in the race, number one, and then once you get there, it's going to be an incredible 50-lap feature, and I know that Mike Jackson's looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to it, and we're trying to get as much information out to the fans as we can so they can be excited about it. Grandstand admission that night, only $15, so, we're hoping that we can get a good crowd out there and show them, everything that we've been working hard on since April as far as, the racetrack surface, made some improvements to the concession stands. So, we've been kind of building up to this since opening night, and, want to thank SP Wilson Incorporated for coming on to help sponsor the event. And, so far the weather looks like it's gonna work with us. So there's a lot to be optimistic about so far.
50 laps the distance, $5,000 the payout over there at Black Rock Speedway. On Tuesday night, the 2nd of June, coming up next week. A programming reminder, the 31st lap is off next Thursday, and then a week from Tuesday, as we talked about, Penn Can Speedway has their regular headline June event on deck. I think that's the can opener is the show that one is. Now I'm blanking on it. I had the press release up right before the computer proceeded to totally lock up a few minutes before start time. If you noticed on the dial that it was a few minutes past 7:15 when we got everything up and running. Danny Johnson, as we made mention of, he was looking awful fast. You talked a little bit, Steven, about Vic Coffey, and he's hoping to come over to Black Rock and take a crack at that $5,000 payday. He had a good run at Canandaigua put together on Saturday night. That ended up going the way of Justin Harris. He picks up his first win at the Land of Legend. Vic Coffey looking strong in the early going, but Justin Harris proven to be too much for him. Some other notes from over the weekend. Otto Sitterly came away with his 4th straight Jim Champagne Memorial. Impressive showing. All 4 of those Champagne Memorial cars were at Oswego Speedway on Saturday as part of that Super Spectacle weekend over Memorial Day. It's something that they've made a regular occurrence. Now, after winning the last 4 dating back to 2012, it's his 7th win in that particular event, and he didn't go without trouble, having broken a torque arm early in the qualifying races, which set him in a spot where he had to do quite a bit of work. He ended up passing Ray Graham for the lead on lap 48, and then rolled on to his 32nd career supermodified win over there at Oswego Speedway. Pretty good showing. Have you ever had a chance to get over there to Oswego?
Yeah, actually, I spent a lot of my college years working for Matt and Mel Thomas, filming on camera over there. Otto and that whole Nicotra team is really, really impressive. And it's not so much a team that has unlimited resources. It's Otto takes such pride in that team, and their maintenance program is really, you talk about races being won in the shop. That's a team right there that, they are as good as they are and have done as well as they have because of that outstanding maintenance program during the week. And, they're tough to beat, whether it's, the Champagne Memorial, whether it's the $10,000 Mr. Super Modified or their big 200-lap classic. Otto is really, really tough to compete with.
So, over there also, Jack Murphy Memorial feature, that was ended with a last lap nail-biter. Mark Samet coming away with a win over Mike Lichty. Anthony Lacerdo, Todd Andrew Shartner to win the Small Block Supers Tony White Memorial. Pretty good racing over there, front to back. I haven't been there. I want to get there at some point. We've been talking about this for years now that I want to get there. Haven't had the chance to get the stars to align the right way. I want to catch one of the big shows like that when they've got the Wing Supers and all that neat stuff going on over there. It'll come together at some point. Last weekend I was in Ohio, so that it would have been a heck of a jaunt trying to make it to Oswego. On top of the fact that the card over there in Ohio didn't end until roughly midnight, so everything was probably already wrapped up by then anyway. Good to see Steve Paseric back in victory lane over at Canandaigua Motorsports Park. He won the street stock feature. It was a combined feature. Brad Steinruck ended the run of Eric Chapman in that division as well. Brad Steinruck coming over with the win. Alicia Ruggles winning the 305 Sprint Main. Frank Guerrero Jr. winning his first ever Sportsman feature, passing Caitlin Pashina on a lap 3 restart before taking over and driving away. We mentioned that Justin Harris came away with the win. Coffee, he's been winless over there at Canandaigua since 2008, knocking on the door. Gary Tompkins able to make the repairs to his car after some of the bad luck he had during the Corcoran Memorial event, rallied to 5th. And Justin Harris with his win snaps Matt Shepard's 3-race win streak over there. Regular action planned at 7 o'clock on Saturday. Billy Decker topping Alan Johnson and Tom Sears. I think that was Danny Johnson that was over there at Fulton. Decker topping those guys. Tommy Sears Jr. for the win. They're back with a $12 general admission, and anyone under 18 is admitted free with one-on-one spectator races on the card. Paradise Speedway, John Smith topped Billy Coffey in the 600 Pro feature. Billy Coffey, I don't know if you've been following this guy, but he is winning pretty much everything over there at Paradise Speedway. I think he's got 3 or 4 wins now. And in each race where he didn't win, he was second. He's doing very, very well in that 600 Pro division. Ethan Roy, Jason Doty, Brianna Mills, all coming away with wins. Jack Lathan also in a divisional micro sprint. The 125 class coming away with a win. The 4 cylinders wins went to Dennis Wichte, Timmy Border, Reg Baggy, Tony Bizzardi, Josh Peters, and Mitchell Weatherby. Vance Palmer all winning kart features, and Jesse Rich Lilly, Fred Morrell pulling down 3-wheeler wins. 3-wheelers make me nervous as hell to watch. It's crazy. I mean, those guys are racing wheel to wheel, and the 3-wheelers, they just seem like they're so unstable as it is. Put the extra wheel on it and put a cage on it, and maybe you might think about getting me on one of those things, but yeesh, not for me. Not for me.
Yeah, that's one you'd want to make sure that the life insurance is all tightened up.
It's not I don't know, man. It just seems like it's such a you're flirting with so much there, and then you when you're out there racing, and then you put 3 wheels. It just seems like those guys are pros, though. They had a great field of those 3-wheelers over there. They had an open division, and then they had the touring group that was in town as well. Friday night action. Spencer had their 61st annual opener. Mike Leedy picking up the 35-lap opener for the NASCAR Sunoco Modifieds, and he ended up picking up a 5-second lead at one point. Darrell Lewis tried to track him down, and the only caution of the 35-lap feature came on lap 22. Lewis made a bid, but it didn't really amount to anything. Leedy came away with the win. Terry Cheatham winning the New York State Superstocks opener over Nate Peckham, who we've seen run at Canandaigua Motorsports Park for years, and I believe I saw him towing a Sportsman not too long ago. Sharp-looking ride. This time he has his Superstock over at Spencer, pulling down second place over Ray Marshall. Timmy Catalano winning the 4-cylinder event, and Barrett Schenk won the Super 6 main. They're back in action this weekend, 7:30 start time Friday. They're going to have a meet and greet with drivers, and in a couple of weeks, ROC Modifieds are coming back for a 75-lap main. Good to see that track again for the 61st year throwing open the doors over there in Williamson. Steve Payne posted his 92nd career win, holding off Donnie Lawson for his 8th win in a big block. That's pretty impressive. 92 career wins, now the most winningest modified driver in Blackrock lore. Completing lap 23, Donnie Lawson got ahead at the line, and there was no stopping Steve Payne from that point forward. He got ahead down the backstretch and checked out. How much fun is it to see Steve Payne looking like he's coming back to the Steve Payne of old over there at Blackrock?
Well, it's certainly fun if you're a Steve Payne fan or if you're an announcer to just see, how well he still is able to do after racing. I mean, we've had this conversation before about the dirt modified drivers that are on top of their game right now. And how long over such a long period of time that they have been this successful and dominant at some places. But I think what was surprising early on this season was the fact that Steve didn't just come out of the box and take 3 out of 4 to open the season.
No,
had some runs in the middle of the pack, and one night blew the rear end before the feature, so didn't even get to start the feature. which certainly put him in a big hole as far as the points go. But long season to be able to catch that back up, and what was interesting was his comment in Victory Lane Friday night was, the track and his setup and everything was, starting to get back to the Black Rock that he remembers running on a weekly basis, and it caught me when he said that, because I thought, boy, if he's starting to feel that groove that he used to feel in the late 90s and early 2000s, that could spell trouble for the rest of the competition. But the track has been different each week. It's been smooth every week, but as far as the track that they've had, rather it had a lot of moisture built in, like we had on the sprint car night, or last week didn't have a lot of moisture into it. He's been able to make adjustments with that Hig Fab and kind of get things dialed in. And this week, Lawson had Lawson's tires not kind of gone away on a long green flag run, who knows if Steve would have even been able to get by, but because he had to work him lap after lap, and he'd run the middle groove and couldn't get enough of a run, so he'd have to tuck back in behind Lawson. He really had to work for this one, and they run 30 laps for their feature now, so that that extra 5 to 10 laps that they used to not run there, and that long green flag run certainly helped out. But Steve's not bashful to say that getting back into a weekly groove there at Dundee is taking some time to shake the rust off, and he always had, from what I remember back in those days, had a TO chassis where now he has the Hig Fab, so still learning what adjustments need to be made there. They made an adjustment for their heat race on Friday night, and Steve said in Victory Lane, he goes, we made an adjustment in the heat and it was terrible. So we had to go the opposite direction, and he said we went further in the opposite direction than we normally go, and it was perfect. So
right.
Even though they have 7 championships and 92 wins there, they're still, when it comes time for feature time, they're still playing a little bit of a guessing game as to what's going to work and what's not right now. And I think everybody's kind of in that ballpark right now.
You alluded to something that Steve said in Victory Lane about how it feels like he's coming back to where he was. So basically, the thing is there wasn't anything wrong with Steve Payne. It was just a problem with the track.
Yeah, right.
That's fantastic. I like that. Looking good over there too. Brady Fultz, he's coming off a good run in the 370 again.
Yeah, Brady got the win the week before in what was a rain shortened event, and that was kind of a deal where when you get a win, it doesn't matter how you got it. It still gets scored as a win in the W column. So they've got a win. They've had a lot of bad luck so far. They've been involved in 2 different accidents that was just wrong place, wrong time, and in the one incident, just killed the front end of that number 70 Troyer. So they've had some tough luck, but certainly the win on May 15th helped them out a bit, and that was a really impressive run, because before the rains came, Alan Johnson was throwing everything he had at Brady Fultz, and Fultz kept that 370, kept his momentum up on the top side, and the sprint cars were there that night, so they had a decent cushion to work with on the top side of the track, and Brady just kept it rolling on the top and was able to put distance on Alan before the yellow and eventually the red came out. So that was impressive to me, because you think that just at face value that the big blocks are going to eat up the 370s or
right,
or if somebody has a 358, and Brady showed that night that that's not necessarily the case. Sure.
Brady rallying. I like the 370 division, and I was kind of wondering once everything got going if more of that 370 population was going to come over and try it once they saw that they could hold their own. you get mentally, the big blocks are just going to blow them out, but the tight confines that you've got over there at Black Rock, it sort of balances that out, and when you're able to hook up more horsepower versus having to maybe get in and out of it a little bit the way you might have to with a big block, a lot of that stuff starts evening out because you can sustain your momentum.
Absolutely, and I think if you look over the course of all the guys that have won, I mean, there has been more feature winners this year than not. I won't say that all of them have been, but more of them than not has just been a simple case of tire management or what choice they made for tires. Ron Cartwright Jr. won on night number 2, and that was just a case of they went with a harder tire than everybody else did. The yellows fell just exactly where he needed them to fall, and at the end, he was just able to drive by everybody. He picked off one car a lap with like 5 or 6 laps to go and ended up getting the win.
Right.
Took the lead with 1 or 2 to go, and that's kind of been the theme. I mean, it happened this week, and it happened the week before that as well. So, kind of a tire game, tire management, and that makes it fun. It's not just guys, blowing around the outside in a big block or anything of that sort. I mean, it's really kind of interesting because there is a good mix over there. Whether it's big blocks, 370s. Not sure that we see a ton of 358s, but good mix of the big blocks and 370s.
Steve Gray coming away with his second win of the year among the sportsman guys. Eddie Seitz won the 500-win Empire State Series event with the IMCA's. Jared Hill pulled down his first street stocks feature over Tracy Dunn and Kurt Stebbins. James Kreidler won his second 4-cylinder feature over Jason Smart. And this weekend, Modifieds and Sportsmen are back on the card along with all the weekly classes. Gates open at 5. Adult grandstand admission is $12. And again, coming up on Tuesday, the 5,000-win 50-lapper for the first midweek special here in the month of June for Black Rock Speedway. Brewerton Tom Sears Jr. shut down Matt Shepard's modified stranglehold. It was his first win of the year. Shepard had won, I think, 3 straight going into that event. Sears caught Chad Phelps in traffic, took over the lead with 6 to go. Phelps was second. Jimmy Phelps was third. Kenny Tremont at Albany Saratoga picked up the win, and Eric Rudolph won the 50-lap modified feature at Ransomville. Sunday over at Fonda, Chuck Heaving ended up picking. Saturday at Fonda, Chuck Heaving pulled down the win with the Empire Super Sprints. It was his 25th career win. Sunday night, he returned to Utica Rome Speedway, dominating that A-main. It was his first win there since 2012. The tour is going to be in Granby Friday, and then Drummond, Canandaigua last week. We talked about Matt Shepard being so good over there at CMP. He won the 64-lap Jan Corcoran Memorial over Larry White and Steve Payne, Brett Hearn, Billy Dunfield in the top 5, and Danny Johnson won Wednesday night at Brockville, Ontario Speedway with the Dirt Car Series as well. Abridged version, Mike had the calendar a little bit flip-flopped, Steven. And he thought when we were taking next week off, he had sort of penciled it in for this week. So no Mike tonight. He's enjoying a chance to get out and do some stuff at home. But again, programming note, we are not going to be on next week because we're going to be getting ready for the Kings of Old School show down at the Broome County Fairgrounds in Whitney Point, New York. Great weather coming up this weekend. We talked about a couple of the shows that are coming up here Friday, Saturday, Sunday, looking like things are going to be real hot tomorrow. Steven, I mean, you've been getting a chance to get out and see other races in the area, or has Black Rock pretty much been keeping you under lock and key?
Yeah, I've gotten out a little bit. Between my duties at Black Rock and now wedding season is kicking into high gear with the DJ business. That's certainly going to limit some Saturday night races. But I've been out a few times to Canandaigua, been out a few times to Woodhull. Tried to take advantage of some of these earlier races in the season before, like I said, before the wedding season starts to kick up. But got out to Weedsport for the Outlaw Show, and no matter what place I've been to so far this year, has been a great race at every place. I mean, the transformation at Weedsport has just been phenomenal.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to seeing what more those guys have in store. That's going to be a lot of fun, and you know, kind of keeping an eye on some of the things that are happening with Rolling Wheels Raceway Park now with the new management with Glenn and his crew. You know, that's certainly makes things interesting as well.
It boy, does it not? What's coming next at this point? I mean, can you imagine what this dynamic is going to look like as we move forward?
Well, the big thing, it's great to see that it's still going to be used as a racing facility because, you know, up until that announcement, I mean, everybody pretty much thought that, you know, that was going to be a drive-in movie theater and they were going to build some other Taco Bell restaurant at the end of it. You know, it was
right.
that was how things were looking. Now we know it's going to be a racetrack, but I think probably the biggest piece out of this whole deal that got announced here not too long ago is bringing back races on TV.
Yep.
That is going to be, in my opinion, that is the biggest piece of news for me so far because I think that draws a ton of attention to our sport that is needed, and you know I think in the last few years the dirt racing scene has kind of been on an incline, not a huge incline, but a steady incline. Mm-hmm. And boy, to get some races back on TV and get our sport back in front of some eyeballs that have never seen our sport or haven't seen us in a long time, that's a really big deal.
Yep, it's one of those things that you don't expect racetracks to come back from the brink like this. It's just not in this day and age, and we're fortunate, man. And I'm anxious to see what the surface is like with all the projections that have come with the announcement of Glenn Donnelly's return to Rolling Wheels, and I'm anxious to see what also happens in conjunction with this when Rolling Wheels does return at full sail with Glenn Donnelly at the helm. What else happens? Or is this the first step towards seeing dirt rebuilt again?
Yeah, that does, you know, it does kind of make you wonder, you know, yeah, I mean, that's the unknown is, you know, the nerve-wracking and the exciting part all at the same time is, you know, and the fact that...
But the nerve-wracking part's gone,
into place.
Isn't it? Isn't the nerve-wracking part gone? The nerve-wracking part is over. We know what's going to happen with the Rolling Wheels now. I mean, we know that it's going to be a racetrack still. We haven't lost that. That was the scary part. Would you agree with me? The scary part was thinking that place was going to be leveled and there wasn't going to be a Rolling Wheels anymore. That part, that concern has now subsided. We know definitively that is going to be a racetrack for at least the foreseeable future.
That's true. That's very true.
But in terms of the excitement now, that place certainly does have a newfound momentum for sure.
And it was just fortunate that all of the I mean, because if Central New York Raceway Park had moved along any quicker as far as timeline goes, I don't even think we're talking about any of this.
No.
You know, it just, so many things had to happen the right way, and after all this talk now and you know, Rolling Wheels being saved, you can only hope that maybe some of that positive mojo will slide over to saving the Moody Mile as well. But, you know, still a lot to be seen there. But, yeah, definitely a lot of positive things happening there. And you know, it's great for the racers and the race fans. And I'll tell you, I'll definitely be interested to see who goes to Rolling Wheels for that first show, because they are going to have a choice to make. It'll be interesting to see who goes where on that first show.
Time will tell. I think it's still going to be a lot of wait and see, because the racing climate, as great as things were, and as tumultuous as things were in the last 15 years. I think a lot of guys are still taking the wait-and-see approach because the landscape is different than what it was. There's a lot of other established shows out there, but at the same time, I mean, it is still Rolling Wheels. But diving in, so what you were talking about wedding season? How far are you away from your first wedding date this year?
I actually just did my first one last weekend,
Oh,
and as it stands right now, I'm booked solid through basically the middle of August.
once the first domino falls, they keep falling.
Yeah, it's a train that once it starts, I mean, it's the same deal in your line of work, Chris. Now too is once that train gets started, there's no stopping it.
Yeah, it started
Just like the dirt season.
It started in February. It started in February. It hasn't stopped yet. It's
Yep.
it's amazing. It's the RC community has taken a huge jump into the forefront right now, coming off the heels of Bash for Cash, which has been interesting to see as that evolves. There's a lot of used the stock of used Trex slashes has gone up remarkably in the last week and a half. So keep your eye on that. If you're interested in getting into an affordable version of Demolition Derby, the RC community has something for you. We'll get into that a little bit more as we get closer to some other bigger announcements and things along those lines. You ever dabble at all with those RC cars?
We did when we were younger. We needed something to keep us occupied during the winter months, and spent 2 or 3, maybe 4 seasons up at Radio Hill there in Dundee.
Yeah, we I have taken a huge step back to my youth. I got a couple of these things now, and they are a ton of fun. My kids love watching them, but I'm afraid to let them drive them because they are so blisteringly fast.
Yeah.
The car that I have is remarkably tough as well after it bounced off a tree in front of my house. Because apparently there's no emergency brake on an RC car. But hey, we all learn things. We all go through the process and learn, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
I'll tell you, a guy that raced